So what would you do if you had a do-over, a new lease on life? If you had looked at death in the eye and decided, no, today is not the day. My guest, Jeff Dennis, did just that and will share what it means to come back to life, swinging and singing. So good day. Thank you very much for tuning in to this new episode of the Microdose Diet. Thank you so much, Jeff, for being here with us. Let me do a quick introduction of Jeff. So Jeff is an entrepreneur in residence at the law firm Fasken. That's where we met years ago. He's had his fingers and toes in more ventures that I can name and had a fabulously extensive network. It is remarkable, but it is not exceptional in our ecosystem. What is exceptional, though, is that on June 3rd, the day of his 65th birthday 2 years ago, Jeff suffered a stroke. He then had brain surgery, was in a coma for 2 weeks, and spent a total of 10 weeks in 2 different hospitals. He's since then made a miraculous recovery and is back at work. So Jeff is going to share with us what having a new lease on life really means. And my name is Peggy Van de Plassche. This podcast focuses on getting more in your life. And, you know, my secret sauce is psychedelic powered personal and professional development. And, you know, really excited to speak with you, Jeff. Thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's, I haven't really thought a lot about it recently. It's a kind of thing where when it first happened, it was obviously very much top of mind and something that I was very focused on. Now that it's almost a year and a half later, life has gone on in many ways, just sort of back to normal, and people kind of treat you. Originally, they treated me with, care and sort of kid gloves, and now it's like, back to normal. Nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
And frankly, I kind of like it. I mean, I have a new lease on life, as you said, and there's some learnings that come from the experience. I wouldn't want to have to go through it again, and I'm a little anxious about that. Every time I go back to see the various doctors, that's all I really want to know is, like, why did this happen? How do we prevent it from happening again? And why am I so lucky that I had this complete recovery? And they don't really know. I mean, they don't know too much about what happened. It's actually interesting. You have all this faith in the medical system, and at the end of the day, they don't really know a lot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think it's something sometimes we lose perspective. We don't realize that we know a silver of things when it comes to our health, and there is a lot of unknown.
It's true. It's very true. When this happened to me, I was out of it, right? Like, I spent, as you said earlier, a couple of weeks in a coma. So for my family, that was very stressful because they had no idea what was going to be. Like, is he ever going to come out of it? What's he going to be like when he comes out of it? And they were very nervous and upset, obviously, uh, because of that. For me, I had no recollection. Like, for me, it's like a blank slate. I didn't have the near-death experience, the light, and all the sort of stuff that people talk about. I didn't have any of that. I have a blank. Like, there's a period of time where I don't remember anything, even after I woke up. I was in the hospital, and I keep hearing stories. You did this, you said that, and from my family, and I have no recollection of many of these things. As soon as I moved from Sunnybrook, which was the critical care hospital, to Bridgepoint, which was the rehab hospital, from that point on at Bridgepoint, I remember everything. It's like I have a very clear image of what transpired, but while I was at Sunnybrook, I don't remember very much at all.
So what I'm very interested in is, how did your outlook on life changed? I understand that people got back to normal around you, but I'm sure you don't come back from such an experience without you mentioned some learnings. What are you maybe more patient? What is different in your life after such an experience?
Well, I think I'm more appreciative. Like I'm very grateful for having my health and having a complete recovery. I'm grateful for my family and the support that they all provided to me. I was not that happy at Sunnybrook, the hospital. I mean, I'm grateful for the initial uh, help they gave me, but after a few weeks, they weren't really helping me much, which is why I moved to this other hospital. But I'm very grateful for Bridgepoint because it made a huge impact. Like when I left Sunnybrook, I was in a wheelchair and I was transported by ambulance. And when I left Bridgepoint 4 weeks after that, I was basically on my own power,
Hmm.
walking, talking, going. In fact, I started back at work against the doctor's suggestions while I was in the hospital. Um, they were testing me for all sorts of things while I was there to see if there was any sort of permanent damage, brain damage, or whatever normal situations happen when people have strokes. When I was at
Yeah.
Bridgepoint, I was on a floor where everybody was a stroke victim, and it must have been, I don't know, 50 to 100 people,
Oh, wow.
and
Okay.
and they all, two people to a room on the entire floor, and everybody except for me was in a wheelchair. They had a walker, they couldn't talk, they were paralyzed, they had brain damage, I mean, they had all these issues, and then there was me. I
Yeah.
mean, the nurses at the hospital used to come and touch me for good luck and go buy lottery tickets. So,
Oh, wow, I love it. So I have two questions for you. So from the moment you left Sunnybrooks and you were at Ridgepoint, you stayed 4 weeks at Ridgepoint. What did they do differently there, or what did you change inside that you recovered so fast?
well, the Bridgepoint has a very specific uh, program for stroke victims, and
Mhm.
I was enrolled in that program. And whereas at Sunnybrook, it's really, acute care.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, they kind of treat you when you're come in. Like I had the brain surgery, I had, post operation support, but they don't do the rehab and they don't do all the things that you need to walk, to talk, to test you
Yeah.
for that. So they would have sent me somewhere. My wife had done some research and learned about the program at Bridgepoint. I have a friend who made a major charitable donation. In fact, the hospital's named after him now, and we contacted them and said, help, I need to get into this program. And within 48 hours I was in,
Okay.
and
And
it made a big difference. And at Bridgepoint, it was, every day there was rehab, programming, going up and down stairs
yeah.
while working on a treadmill. I went for a walk every day outside. All the sort of activities that you do as part of a rehab. I had occupational therapist, I had a physiotherapist, I had a nutritionist, I had doctors, there was a whole sort of team.
Yeah, but every patient had the same care than you. So, and no one knows why you left after 4 weeks walking and working already. There is no, it is not because you were healthier before. It's not, I don't know, maybe your
Well,
mindset.
we don't know. We don't, you're right. And it's true. But nobody knows. I mean, the one thing, I was very dedicated, like
Okay.
when I was at the hospital, and I took my rehab program very seriously. And I kind of, that's part of my nature, is to be very sort of focused and dedicated type of person. And I approached my rehabilitation the same way, and I suppose that helped.
Mhm.
Also, my attitude, I have a very sort of generally I have a positive attitude. I'm kind of some people say I'm delusional. Maybe I like to say I'm optimistic.
Yeah.
But and then they were giving me all these tests that caused me some, I don't know, lack of confidence because I took that test that Donald Trump took, and he said he was
A
a,
genius.
a genius. Well, I'm a genius too, and but it's the same test, and but it gave me concern. I mean, if they think I need these tests, then maybe there's something wrong with me, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So when the phone started to ring and the emails came in from work related things, I decided to take him on from the hospital, to see if I could do it, just to see like if these tests were accurate,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
B, in retrospect, it gave me a lot of confidence. Like it gave me the feeling like I could do it, and it helped me. The doctors discouraged me from taking these calls and working, but I think they were wrong. I think that it really helped my confidence, helped my recovery.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. That's great. One question I had for you is, the before and after. So you were mentioning that now that you have this new lease on life, you're more grateful and appreciative. So what did you wish you had known before this experience? So maybe things that you learned from being so close to, losing it all. Would you do things differently? What's your
I don't really know. Because there's no good answer. I mean, I've asked the question, like, why did this happen? What could I have done differently? And I suppose there were a few lifestyle issues that I could have, avoided. But I think also there was some family history of this type of, like my grandmother had strokes, and I have an uncle that died of stroke related issues. So, there's a family history there. So, in some respects, there's probably not much I could have done. I don't really think in those terms. I'm more focused on
yeah.
now. And, so for example, and I just got back every morning, my wife and I go for an hour walk. I started back at Bridgepoint. I was 15 minutes then, and it's slowly built up over time. I've been doing this for over almost a year and a half, every single day, in the snow, in the rain, in the like. I mean, today's gorgeous, which is lovely, but I've been going out on these walks. I mean, we went away this summer and rented a cottage with my family for a few weeks, and I still every day my wife and I were out for a walk, and we didn't care about the weather, and in the winter I was doing it. So, and then the other thing that I've done is we've hired a personal trainer, and I've got a woman coming here to our house 3 days a week. And my wife, I do a half an hour of training, and then she does a half hour. We do it Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. Because when I was first left Sunnybrook, I had lost 35 pounds,
Oh,
and
wow.
I had lost all my fitness because
Oh,
I'd been lying in bed for 6 weeks at that point and not eating. I was on tubes and all of that sort of
yeah.
stuff. So I lost all that weight, and then starting at Bridgepoint, they put me on a diet that would help me, and I put it back on. I mean, I'm back to where I was before weight wise. In fact, I've cut back some of my intake because I don't want to gain any more. I don't want to gain another 35 pounds. So I'm sort of sort of
Yeah.
monitoring and trying to stay even at this stage.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think, I mean, in terms of changes, um, the exercise, the walking, the training, eating, carefully and eating healthily. I don't drink any alcohol anymore. I mean, I'm on I take cannabis drops in the evening
Oh, yeah. Okay.
to
Mhm.
help me sleep,
Yeah.
but I don't smoke. I used to smoke the odd cigar, and I
Yeah.
don't do any of that. Like I'm like a monk. I'm a
Yeah.
completely clean lifestyle right now, and I eat very carefully and don't. There's not a lot of sugar in my diet, and sort of try to be healthy in everything I do. I'm on medications and supplements to help me. And I'm very dedicated around, you know, following the protocols that are
Mhm.
recommended to me. And
Yeah.
I guess I'm afraid, I have some anxiety around, I don't want a recurrence, right? So I'm trying to live life the best I can. And I don't feel it. Like, and somebody sees me, they can't believe it, because I
Exactly.
don't look like you would expect. And I guess I'm just lucky.
So are you spending more time, I don't know, with your families, with your friends? Did you change your work-life balance where you, I would say, understand now what is very important to you versus maybe what it was before?
Not really. I've always had a pretty good work-life balance. It was something that I'd kind of come to a long time ago. I'm working from home mostly now, which I actually like. It enables me to go do the follow-up medical appointments. It's just closer, easier, because dealing with the traffic and going downtown
Yeah.
is much more difficult for me at this stage. So I do stay home a lot. Although I'm busy, I mean, today's a full day of calls and meetings. My first call was at 8:30 this morning. Then my wife and I went for our walk. I had something to eat at 10 or something, and then here we are.
Yeah.
And I'll go and have meetings or calls, Zoom calls like this until maybe 5 or 6 o'clock this evening. And I cook as well. That's something new too. I'm the cook in the house, and we have one of these services where they give you
Oh,
the
yeah.
meals, and it's all the food you need, and you just prepare it and cook
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
I follow the instructions, and I we do it three. I do it 3 days a week. So usually Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, um, and again, it's all healthy and
Everything. Yeah.
and it's good for me.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's great. It's interesting to see. Well, you've obviously, but not obviously, you have many people who don't change their lifestyle after having a health incident. So that's interesting. But what is very interesting to me is that you seem to have had a very solid work-life balance before. So you didn't come up on the other side totally changing your life because you were like, oh my God, I could have lose everything. So now I'm spending all my time, I don't know, with my children or my wife or,
Well, I always have. I mean,
yeah,
I was an entrepreneur before I joined Fasken. I had my own business, and one of the nice things about having your own business is you can, you know, plan your time around your
yeah,
family. So I used to coach my kids in their sports, and I would go to their presentations and their dance recitals and things like that. So I've always been around, and I've always been supportive of my children. And I try to have a balance, and I've always sort of saw the benefit of that. And I've built my business and practice at Fasken around sort of my lifestyle from the beginning. Uh,
Mhm.
it's I kind of do it my way, uh, and luckily I've been able to be productive and successful in you know generating the business that they are looking for, but also having the lifestyle that I'm looking for.
Yeah. So tell us more, about what you are up to and where can people find you? I'm sure they're going to be interested in knowing more about you and what you do.
Well, I guess my primary responsibility is I'm still at Fasken. I'm no longer entrepreneur in residence. They call me counsel, which is sort of a I don't know an emeritus senior type of role, and I work with entrepreneurs, really from the beginning of their journey, startup financing to the exit, and then often it's setting up trusts and family planning and estate planning and things like that. So I work with a lot of good technical lawyers who do the heavy lifting, and I give them sort of high level advice based on my personal experience and what
Yeah.
I've seen over the years in various, businesses. Um, and so, my role at Fasken is quite good in the sense that, entrepreneurs want to talk to somebody like me because I've walked a mile in their shoes. And yet I have the insight as a lawyer to understand what the risks are and how to avoid some of the problems. And then I have as well a bit of a side gig. I started a business during the pandemic. We call it Alt Health. Its website is althealth.me. And it's essentially a social media platform for the health and wellness space. It's a little bit maybe overstated, but it's sort of Facebook meets Amazon. The Facebook piece is that we have something called channels. And these are like, I guess they're like Facebook groups where the topics are, Lyme disease, diabetes, weight loss, fitness, yoga, whatever. And it's a whole community built around those topics where people can share content and then share the content onwards onto their Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever they are in social media. And then in addition, so that's the sort of Facebook piece. The Amazon piece is we have a marketplace of products and services that are relevant to those channels. So we have over 18,000 products for sale on the site, from supplements to massage guns to you name it, we've got it. It's a huge range of products. And what makes it unique is we're powered by a software called ShopType, which solves what I call the last click problem. When somebody's a social media influencer, I'm sure you're aware of this, you post content, it drives traffic to buy something, and you make a commission.
Yeah.
Well, that only happens if you're the last click.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? If you're not the last click, you don't get paid. And most people aren't the last click because the customer, it's, watch the video, read the blog, tick, click, 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 and then they buy. You may or may not be the last click. It's like a lottery. Well, what ShopType does is what's called multi-touch attribution, meaning it can split these very large commissions amongst multiple influencers. So even if you're not the last click, you could get paid.
Yeah.
And so what you do is you basically share content from our site onto the rest of this internet, social media. And if somebody clicks on it and comes and buys something from us, you will earn all or part of that commission, depending on the nature of the customer's journey. And so we started that before I got sick, and then I really lost a lot of momentum when I got sick because I was really out of it for a number of weeks. And so when I kind of got my feet back under me, we got going again. I've got one employee who kind of runs it for me, and obviously I'm sort of giving high level leadership and ideas. And then we have something else that's kind of exciting that was inspired by my daughter, which was kind of gave me this idea. We call them My Shops. And what they are is customizable e-commerce stores. So anybody like my daughter, who's a chiropractor, she was complaining to me that, she's forever recommending products to her patients. And then they go to Amazon or they go to Shoppers or wherever they go, and she gets nothing for that. Well, what if she had her own store?
Yeah, exactly.
And so we've created these stores where anybody could have a store, whether you're a chiropractor, a naturopath, a yoga instructor, a fitness instructor, any influencer, to augment their service business. They can now have products. And it's all powered by our software. So the store is completely customizable. It looks and feels like their brand. And they then they can choose out of those 18,000 products, they can choose any products they like to have in their store. And again, they get the commissions and their followers get the commission. So it creates what's known as a decentralized sales force, where everybody in the community is now part of your sales team.
Yes, yes, that's very interesting. I'll put the link underneath althealth.me for people who are listening or looking at the
Well,
watching
thank you.
the video. But I would add all of that and in the newsletter as well, because it's very interesting for people to check it out themselves as influencers and as potential member. But Jeff, thank you so much for taking the time. Like I was so happy. Well, first for me, it was I learned you were recovered before I learned you were sick, actually, because someone told me, oh, well, he's doing great. And I'm like, oh, well, he was not doing well. And that's, oh, I learned you were sick. But what a story, So
Thank
I'm
you.
so happy that you spent 30 minutes with us, sharing what you've learned from the experience, telling us about Alt Health Me. And thank you very, very much for taking the time to be with us this morning, Jeff.
It's my pleasure. Nice to see you. Take care.
Thank you, Jeff.
Bye-bye.
Bye.